What is going on, guys? Johnny on the track, back with another video. And today we are talking about the five drivers in the NASCAR Cup Series that have the most to prove in the 2025 season. So I've picked out five Cup Series drivers that I feel like really are on thin ice and need to prove themselves this year to make a stride and honestly continue in the Cup Series and prove the doubters wrong, quite frankly. And so how this is going to work is I'm going to count down from five to one. I think the top two you could probably replace one, two, however you want to do it. But in my opinion, I think those two separate themselves above the rest, and quite frankly, both have the most to prove in 2025. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, number five, I'm going to start with is a still a young race car driver. How is he? 27, I believe. Let me fact check that. 28. He'll turn 29 in May. So really still approaching the prime of his career. Talented driver, in my opinion. Eric Jones. Eric Jones, I gotta ask the question though, like what's going on here, dude? Like what is going on? Because you've got Jimmy Johnson coming in here as an owner with Richard Petty. So you've got two, of the biggest names all time in the sport, seven-time champions. You've got Toyota. Now I know, they're not sharing data with a Joe Gibbs Racing or with a 2311. They're kind of on their own, but Toyota still only supports three teams. It's 2311, it's Joe Gibbs Racing, and it's Legacy Motor Club. So, you've got what I think would be good ownership. You've got a manufacturer who, it wanted you to come on board with that switch. You're super talented, as most people would think, and I think you are a talented young guy. And I don't really know how bad your organization is. But I don't care how bad it is because two top tens in the whole 2024 season, two top tens the whole season, and both were on super speedways. I don't care how I don't care how bad you are. That's Rick Ware Racing numbers. Let's take Stewart Haas Racing shutting down with no Ford support at all. Chase Briscoe wins a race. Guys like Barry, Priest, they had good, solid results at points throughout the season, even Noah Gragson. Um, Two top tens for you the whole season? Through the playoffs, you had two finishes in the top 20, and one was 19th. The other, again, was a top five at a super speedway. So really, take that aside. You've got one finish in the top 20. And like I just mentioned, Chase Briscoe with Stewart Haas Racing, no support at all, team shutting down, wins at Darlington and puts on a show. And again, I think people would think, Eric Jones is maybe on that tier of talent around to Chase Briscoe. I really think so. So I'm not going to argue with the pure talent. And I don't really know how much I can argue about the organization aspect because I do think there's good leadership in charge there. I know they've made a lot of changes, but you've still got Jimmy Johnson at the top along with Richard Petty. And you've got two finishes in the top 20. I know you signed a deal, but I mean, you've got to prove to me that you can still race at this level. Because you've shown it, right? Two career win, or is it actually three career wins in the Cup Series for Eric Jones. So two poles, three wins, 90 top tens in your career in 289 races. So you've shown that you can do it. But I think this organization believes in you. I think they want to build around you. You've got to do better than two top tens. I'd like to see 10 top tens. I think this organization can and should take a major step, and Eric Jones should be a guy that finishes top 20 in points. He should be a guy that's contending for wins at super speedways and at some of these mile and a half tracks. I really believe that because he is a talented race car driver. But at some point, you've got to put it all together. Because even the year in the next gen era when he won a race, it didn't lock him into the playoffs. So he's only been to the playoffs in the NASCAR Cup Series twice in his whole career. When he won at Daytona at 2018 with Joe Gibbs Racing, and then when he won the Southern 500 in 2019 with Joe Gibbs Racing. Those were the only years that he's been in the playoffs. So Eric Jones has not made the playoffs since 2019. And again, he's a talented race car driver who has shown flashes and has had good results. But you've got to take that next step, or somebody, down the line who's a lot younger and more talented will fall into place. And Jimmy Johnson, I think, is one of those guys that I feel like he'll pull the plug if he needs to. So Eric Jones is number five on my list of most approved in the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. Number four is a guy that I think a lot of people at the beginning of last year thought very highly of. And then as the season went on and he made the switch to his new team, then I feel like there might have been some questions. So this guy, number four, most approved, is Justin Haley. They've got Carson Hocevar, who I think is super talented. They bring in a veteran like Michael McDowell and then Justin Haley. And Michael McDowell with Travis Peterson, good crew chief pairing. But the best crew chief there is Rodney Childers. And they put Rodney with Justin Haley. Are you really that good enough, Justin Haley? Are you really that guy that should be partnered with Rodney Childers, or should that be Carson Hocevar, who I think most would argue maybe is the most talented at Spire in terms of pure speed and racing talent? There's a lot of big names. There's a lot of prospects out there that I think Chevy would really want to push to that next level. And on an ascending team like Spire, who has shown they want to get better and spend money, is Justin Haley really the guy? Is he really the guy? Because when the playoffs started, or sorry, when you made that switch to Spire, you had an average finish at 25th. Those are Rick Ware Racing numbers. 25th average finish when you make the jump. Now I know Rodney Childers was still with Josh Berry at that time period at the end of that season, so he's going to have a fresh start with a new crew chief. But again, I mean, Justin Haley he's shown flashes, but I think a lot of people might think of him as a one-trick pony, right? With super speedways, where he's won in the Xfinity Series. He obviously won at Daytona in the Cup Series way back when with Spire Motorsports. But I don't know if he's that guy to be, partnered with with a championship winning crew chief like Rodney Childers and take Spire to that next level. I don't know if he is. So he's got to prove it to me, and I want to see something out of Justin Haley because I like him a lot. I think he's a good kid, from what I can tell, both on and off the racetrack. But you've got to get the results, and this is a big year for Justin Haley because what if he comes out and has an average finish at 25th? Because that's what it was, right? When he raced with Spire, those last, I think it was 7 races, average finish at 25th. You can't do that now. You cannot do that because they will find a switch and go for somebody, who's on the come up and somebody that Chevy might want in that situation. So number four, Justin Haley. Number three is somebody that I really, really believe in. One of my favorite guys to watch in the Cup Series. It's Ryan Preece. This is the best opportunity of Ryan's life, in a NASCAR or from a NASCAR standpoint. And the interesting thing about Preece is when you actually look at it and he's in good equipment, he wins. He won in the trucks with good equipment. He's obviously won a championship in the modified tour as well as so many different modified races in good equipment in that level series. He's won the Xfinity Series when given the chance with Joe Gibbs Racing. So when you put Ryan Preece in good equipment, he wins. He's going to have good equipment. And I think he's going to have a shot to win. And I think that would be the way to secure that spot for next year. My guess is I don't know for sure. I haven't read up enough about it. But this is probably maybe a 1 year deal to max, I would say. But what if Ryan goes out and wins a race and gets somehow to the round of 12 in the playoffs? Right? I mean, that's what like a guy like Daniel Suarez did. Chris Buescher did that. Brad Keselowski won last year. So I think Ryan is going to have a good enough car to contend for a win at certain tracks. Can he do it? Can he put it all together? This is the best opportunity of his life. I think if he proves it, he's going to have a nice runway moving forward with that organization because he's a Ford guy at this point. He's a KHI guy. right? So he's represented by really good, management agent staff, however you want to say that. And I think Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher believe in Ryan, and I think that's why Brad took the chance. Obviously, Ryan has a good relationship with Kroger, which would put a lot into that. But Kroger's a big sponsor. That's a big money sponsor for that team. So the money's there for Preece to go out and contend and win races. I'd like to see him top 20 in points. I think that's where he should be, but I'm really hoping he can win a race, and I think he can, because that would, put a lot of those chatters and doubts behind of is this guy a playoff guy? Is he a Cup Series guy? I think that will quiet that conversation down. So Ryan Preece third on my list. Number two on my list, and again, two and one. I think you can flip flop. You can make an argument for either of these guys, but number two on my list for most to prove is Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace, your teammate keeps winning. Your teammate made it to the championship four. He was top five in points just about all season. Since 2023, your teammate has 5 wins, 21 top fives, and 36 top tens. Okay? And 5 wins as well. So 5 wins, 21 top fives, 36 top tens since 2023. Compared to Bubba Wallace, you have 0 wins. You have 11 top fives. You have 24 top tens since 2023. If you want the chatter to stop, you've got to put the results on the racetrack. You've got to win. You've got to win because that's the conversation around Bubba last year is statistically, he probably had his best season if you look at average finish, top tens, all that good stuff. He had a good solid season, but you got to win to make it in the playoffs in this league at this point. And so to me, if Bubba does not get a win, I think he's on the hot seat. I think the chatter continues to ramp up because Tyler Reddick is one of the most talented guys we have in the Cup Series. And right now he's carrying that team on his shoulders, quite frankly. And so Bubba Wallace, as good as I know you are, because I've seen you win at this level and at the Truck Series level, and the way you've came up, you've done it the right way. You've grinded it out. You've gotten the situations there, to put yourself in this position. But at some point, you've got to win races. And I think if Bubba Wallace does not win a race again this season, that's 3 straight seasons going winless for Bubba Wallace. And I think his name is going to start to come up as names that can be replaced or people that are, probably looking to replace Bubba at 23-11. So most approved, Bubba Wallace at number two, but I think you can make an argument that he could be number one. But I do have number one being Daniel Suarez, 2 playoff appearances in 4 seasons with Trackhouse. Always seems to, at this point, be outperformed by his teammate Ross Chastain. He does have 2 wins in his 4 seasons with Trackhouse, but one's at a super speedway and the other's at a road course. 10th and 12th, his best finishes in the standings. So, an organization that made the championship four with Ross Chastain that has contended, for wins at mile and a halfs, short tracks, road courses, super speedways, all of that, right, has won, right? Feels like they should be one of those top level or just maybe a half step down. Is Suarez the guy? Because Connor Zilisch is now signed to Trackhouse and waiting in the wing to take that opportunity. So Suarez, can you win multiple races? Can you make a deep playoff run? Can you go to the round of 8? Can you show better consistency? Because if you can't, you're the odd man out there. You just are, right? You look at SVG, you look at Ross Chastain. Those 2 guys are locked in. Ross to me for the next at least 3 to 5 years. And he could have like a bad season. I still think you're looking at 3 to 5 years for Ross Chastain, and I think they like SVG and the international kind of pull that he has. I know Suarez has that as well, but SVG can back it up with wins and good results on road courses. So I think they want to go in that direction. I think they want to go SVG, Ross Chastain, and Connor Zilisch. I think that's what they're hoping at one point will be their 3-car lineup. And Daniel Suarez is the odd man out. But Daniel Suarez, if you can go out and win two, three races, um, you're gonna make it hard on them. That decision is gonna really toughen up because you look at a guy like Ross Chastain, who I mentioned, yes, was not in the playoffs this year, but still got a win late in the season. Won at Phoenix the year before. Actually, had two wins, Nashville and Phoenix the year before, and of course the year before that made it all the way to the championship four. So Ross Chastain has shown that he can do it, both consistency and in the win column, and make big playoff runs. Can Suarez, can you do that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you can, but if you're able to, I think you're going to prove a lot of those doubters wrong, because I think there's a mixed bag on Suarez. I think people believe in him, but also see the writing on the wall as a guy like Connor Zilisch is just waiting to be called up for that opportunity. So to me, those are the five drivers that have the most to prove in the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. Five Eric Jones, four Justin Haley, three Ryan Preece, two Bubba Wallace, and number one on that list is Daniel Suarez, who has the most to prove in 2025. Want to know what you guys think? Put your thoughts in the comment section below. If you think I missed somebody, if you echo my statements on these guys here today, hit subscribe down low. Goes a long way for the channel, and give this video a like. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.